Hey guys, welcome. We're in the last week of class, believe it or not, and we're in chapter 18 where we'll be working with animation, video, and photography. And I'm going to demo a couple of these exercises for you and then see if you have anything else that you'd like me to demo in order to help you through the chapter. We're going to start out with this creating and duplicating animation frames. So you want to open 18-1 PSD and we're going to save it as pretty package file. Save as. Underscore your name. And once you have that saved, you want to display the motion workspace and make sure that the rulers are in pixels, and then resize the timeline panel so it's no wider than the pretty package image. So let's first go up to the motion workspace. So we want to go from 3D and we're going to motion workspace. And then we want to make sure that the rulers are in pixels, so you right click or control click to ensure that those are on pixels. And then you want to make sure that the timeline panel is no wider than the pretty package image, which that looks pretty good to me. And that's at the medium thumbnail, so I think that's fine. Alright, you can resize the timeline panel by dragging it from its dock, positioning it above or below the image window, and then dragging from left or right to resize it. So if you want it closer to your workspace, you can do that as well. Alright, then we're going to adjust the opacity setting of the paper layer to 50% on the layers panel. So you want to pull up the layers panel. You want to make sure that the paper panel is 50% opacity. And then we're going to click the Duplicate Selected Frames button on the timeline panel, and a new animation frame is created and is now the active frame. Then we're going to go back and adjust the opacity setting of the paper layer to 100%. And then compare our screens to figure 4 or mine on the screen. Alright, I wanted to see when I went to the layers panel and did the create a new layer, it did not create a new animation frame. So I'm looking back, I may have misread the instructions, but what you want to do is go to the timeline panel, not the layers panel. So you want to go to the timeline panel, which I did not do. And this is the timeline panel. and then you want to create and duplicate selected frame, and so now we have 2 animation frames as we're supposed to. All right, now we're going to click the it looks like a new layer again on the timeline panel. We want to click the indicates layer visibility on the paper layer on the layers panel to hide this layer. And then we're going to click the eye on the ribbons layer on the layers panel to hide that layer as well. We're going to click the bow layer to make it active. And you'll see that the content from the bow layer appears in frame 3 of the timeline panel. You'll see that here or on their screen as well, on figure 5. All right, so during this exercise we created an animation frame, we duplicated existing frames, and then adjusted the opacity of the frames. Duplicating frames with different levels of opacity creates one of the possible animated effects when viewed in a browser. Alright, so now we are going to adjust the animation frames. We are going to go to the bow layer and adjust the opacity setting to 50%. And then we're going to click the Duplicate Selected Frames button on the timeline panel and then adjust the opacity setting of the bow layer to 100%. Now you want to click the new frame again on the timeline panel. And we have now created 5 frames. We are going to click the Indicates Layer Visibility button on the bow layer to hide it. Excuse me. And then we're going to click the Ribbons layer on the Layers panel to make it active. And then click the Indicates Layer Visibility button on the Layers panel as well to display this layer. We're going to adjust the opacity setting to 50%. And then we're going to click the new timeline or new animation frame. And then we're going to adjust the opacity setting to 100%. And you want to compare your screen to figure 6 or mine on the screen. And in this exercise we adjusted the opacity of frames using the Layers panel. And again, the adjustment of frame settings lets you simulate movement when the animation is played. Now, using video layers in Photoshop CC, if you have a QuickTime 7.6.2 or higher installed on our computer or on your computer, you can use Photoshop CC to edit individual frames of video and image sequence files. You can also edit and paint on video and apply filters, masks, transformations, layer styles, and blending modes. And when you open a video file in Photoshop CC, the frames are contained within a video layer, which is indicated by a film strip icon in the Layers panel. You can create a video layer in an active document by displaying the timeline panel in timeline mode and then clicking the layer on the menu bar, pointing to video layers and clicking new video layer from file. Okay, so now we're going to play the animation in the image and view optimized image browser. So we're going to go back to our document, verify that forever is selected. In the Selects Looping Options list arrow, which it is. And then we're going to click the first frame in the timeline panel and click Plays Animation button on the timeline. Now we're going to click the Stops Animation button on the timeline panel. The animation stops, displaying the current active frame. The Play Stop Animation button changes its appearance depending on the current state of the animation, and then see Table 1 in your textbook for a description of the buttons on the timeline panel. Now we're going to turn off the ruler display and save our work. We're going to go to the menu bar and we're going to click Save for Web. And remember, we have to go to Export, I believe, and Save for Web under the Legacy format. And then we're going to click Preview and compare your preview to Figure 7. And this will display the animation only if it's saved in the GIF format, which ours is. There we go. And I will be back in just a moment to finish this out, but let me just finish out this last step. The first time you use the feature, you may have to add a browser. I've used the feature before, so my browser automatically kicks in. So it would be either Safari, Firefox, Chrome, whatever browser you typically work with is great. And then you want to click Cancel, close your browser, and then click Cancel in the Save for Web dialog box. And then in this exercise, we played the animation in the file and then viewed the image in a browser. How cool is that? All right, and I will be back again in a few moments.